taking off the bladder and putting it back on. Most platforms have this sort of a chain link on it. This is kind of a common configuration. And I find the easiest way to get this off is to put a plier on the bottom of that point and then at the top of this nub right here. Okay, and so it slides up and out, and then for those of you who are not familiar with this little chain link pops off. Like so, and then you take your speed bag off like that. And then replacing it is basically the same. We're going to go here, put the chain link back on, come up here from the top, line it up, and this time we're going to place the bottom part of the plier on this nub and the top on the top here. You know, it's pretty intuitive. So we're going from the top of the chain link to the bottom of the nub, and then that just snaps back into place. Now, while we're at this bag here, you'll notice that on these shoelaces, right, they've come undone, but you really want to buy a new set of shoestrings, because you can take this out, these laces, but the problem is getting them back in. And I actually did this one because I didn't have laces, and so I had to thread, putting tape and stuff, these loose laces all the way back through here, which is a real pain. So make sure if your laces don't have the plastic seal on the ends, that just get a cheap pair of new laces. So that is one tip that will help you a lot. So here's our bladder. Like an open flushing thing. Thank you. So here's the bladder, and I've already undone the laces on this bag, and I've flipped it inside out, so the laces are gone. And just to show you one more time, I'm just pushing the butt of the bag all the way up until I can grab it here. So I got my fingers in as far as I can get them. I tried my best to grab by the butt, and then pull it out like this. Now you actually don't have to turn this inside out completely, although it's better if you do. But if this, some bags you can only get it out like barely to expose this hole, right? But that's okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit of tacky glue here. Now, and don't use a really strong adhesive like a rubber cement or something, because what could potentially happen is this cloth can adhere to this cloth, and when you rip the old bladder out, you're going to end up ripping, you know, some of what was part of the bag. So I use like a fabric glue, because the fabric glue isn't that adhesive. I just need it to stay in place temporarily while I do this. So that's kind of your second tip. So put a coating of adhesive there that's not going to be too aggressive of a bond. Now, we want to aim this nub right here into the hole, right? So I stick it in like so. I make sure it's in there, and from the other side, I want to make sure that I can feel that nub coming out. And in my case, I can even see it because the nub is a lighter color. So I aim it in that hole. And one other tip that you can use is, as I'm pushing this back through the hole, right, to help me make sure that this nub is in place. And this kind of got out of alignment a little bit. But one thing I like to do, especially if the bag is kind of ornery, is I like to grab it, just the nub section, with a plier, right? And I don't want to grip it too tightly, but I just want it enough so that it can help guide it here. So I'm not putting any force on it other than pinching it. And I just want to kind of guide it through here so that my nub doesn't keep escaping the hole, right? And once I feel that I've got it in a good place and my fingers can no longer do any more, right? I can still grab this. It's a little hard to get that grip. But I can still grab this, right? And help me work it out the rest of the way. And now I can grab this here and pull it out. And so now, as you can see, the nub is exposed out of the hole. So while that adhesive is working its way in and settling, and I'm pushing this as far out as possible, right? I'm going to go ahead and relace this. And this is where the earlier tip of the new laces comes in handy, because I'm not going to have to fight to get that loose threading through the eyelets. Now the easy part, pump it up, and I like to get a little bit of moisture on it. And just like that, we have switched out the bladder in our speed bag.